Alright, boom. So the topic of this video today is going to be about the best way to communicate with introverts. I'm going to section this into 3 different points. You have the best way to communicate, a decent way to communicate, and potentially the worst way to communicate with introverts. I won't waste any time, so let's dive right in. I would say the very best way to communicate with introverts is definitely any kind of a written communication, whether it's a text message, an email, a Slack, Zoom, SMS. However you can type or write out the communication method, that's the best way to communicate with introverts. We don't necessarily like talking on the phone, and we don't like any kind of drawn out social communication. So the best way to communicate would be written. That gives us the convenience to basically, write a quick response and then get back to what we're doing immediately. And it also doesn't have us stuffed into a long-term social communication with other people. Now, I don't want to say it like, oh my God, introverts just can't communicate in person. No, we can communicate in person pretty well. It's just that we prefer written communication because it allows us a big fat convenience in regards to what we may have already been doing, or just in general, it allows us to have a very low effort level of communication with you. Now, I don't mean low effort as in the response. I mean low effort as in I don't have to like fix my face or fix the way I'm looking or make sure that, I don't got nothing on my face and nothing like that. I can just reply to you in whatever way I need to reply and then get back to what I'm doing really quickly. It's by far the best way to communicate. I've done a lot of research, not just on myself, but also on other introverts. I'm part of an introvert Reddit, and I feel like a lot of people will definitely agree that the best way to communicate with introverts is definitely written. Write it down. If we can reply to you with words, that's the best. I'm a very fast texter. I will text you back in a heartbeat if you text me, or at the very least, it gives me the opportunity to reply to you on my own time and my own convenience. We all have busy lives, and I'm really busy at work sometimes. So a text is the safest way to communicate because it gives me the opportunity to reply to you at a convenient time for me and in a comfortable way as well. Now, I would say the kind of sort of good way to communicate with introverts would be video communication. So a Zoom call or a FaceTime call or a Google Meet or any way you can video chat the introvert, that would be like the second tier way to communicate. It's not better than written or verbal. It's not better than written communication, but it's definitely close enough where it's like, okay, it's not so bad, but it isn't the best because again, a video call would mean that I would have to stop what I'm doing, fix myself up, and then be on video chat talking to you. And it stops me from what I'm doing, and now I gotta be social, which means the battery is starting to decline. But the battery doesn't decline as fast as it would in person, but it's still declining because I gotta see you face to face. I gotta see your facial expressions and see your vibe, and depending on the vibe, my battery goes down even lower because you may not be interested in talking to me, or there's many different nuances in regards to a video communication or video contact. So for the most part, video communication isn't so bad because it's not in person. So I don't necessarily have to once the video call ends, it's not like, oh, I have to walk away from you or be in the same space or potentially interact with you in person again right away. So it's not as bad as in person again, but it's not as good as written communication would. Personally, I don't necessarily mind video communication. Like, I don't mind the occasional FaceTime. I do mind the unexpected video call, especially when it comes to work. I hate that shit. I absolutely fucking hate that. I hate when I'm texting somebody or I'm emailing somebody and they be like, oh, can we hop on a quick call to discuss this? No, we cannot. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to hop on a call with you to talk about nothing. I'm not gonna be saying that to the customer or saying that to the clients, but that's how I feel. Like, I'm not hopping on nothing to talk to you about nothing. Like, I fully explained this in my email. I fully explained this in the text message. I showed pictures. Like, I have reference points. How are you not getting that? Like, no. So them spontaneous video calls or spontaneous FaceTime, there's a good chance I'm gonna probably just press decline on that shit. I'm gonna press decline and I'm gonna find some excuse as to why I declined that shit because I'm not trying to do that. Like, I don't like unexpected communication. I hate that shit. Text messages is fine because it's like I could just read it and then, I could reply later. Unexpected video call means now I gotta stop what I'm doing and do the video call. I don't want to do that shit. It's annoying. I'm sorry. That's what it is. And I'm pretty sure other introverts can definitely relate to that. Like, we just don't want unexpected calls coming out of nowhere and I gotta freaking put effort in to be social now. No, absolutely not. I hate that shit. But at the same time, it's like it's still a better communication method than straight up in person, because once I disconnect, then it's like, okay, boom. There goes all the anxiety. There goes all of the social interaction I got to do for that time. And then I can instantly start recharging, because most likely I'm going to be in an environment where I can recharge myself. So I don't got to, keep the battery running after that interaction. And then last but not least, of course, is, it kind of is least because we just don't like this, is in person. So, being in person, being in a group in person, being in a meeting in person, that shit is easily the worst way to communicate with us possible. Or it's the worst method of communication that introverts have to deal with. We don't like social interactions. We don't like being in social spaces. So being in person is definitely the least effective way that we'll communicate with you, or the least effective way that we can communicate, only because of the fact that we just don't feel comfortable, especially if you consistently add more and more people to the interaction. Like if I'm at a function, right, and there's a lot of people there, like I don't want to be there for any kind of period of time. I didn't even want to go there in the first place. But for the most part, I most likely had to be there for whatever reason, so I'm there. But trust and believe, the entire time I'm there, I'm dreading being there. I'm dreading having to stay there. I'm dreading having to interact. The battery is declining every 5 seconds. And I just want to go. I don't want to be there. Is what it is. I don't want to be there. And I just feel like, especially unexpected in-person meetings, oh my God, that's the bane of my existence. Like, I'm in the office taking care of work. All of a sudden, somebody wants to meet in the conference room real quick to discuss this, that, and the third. And it's like this was not on my calendar, so I couldn't have planned for it. Like, I couldn't have preempted this and, just dealt with the issue. It's not going to work like that. I just can't do that. Like, I need time to prepare. I need time to get myself right and, maybe even plan out conversations in my head so that I don't feel silly in person. Because in person, I'm a kind of person where I don't talk much. So unless you directed something at me or some kind of communication, I don't, I just don't respond now. Or I respond, but I'm not going to initiate the conversation. Being in person, you kind of sort of feel obliged to, to respond to the people while they're talking to you. Or even if like there's a moment of silence, you feel like you got to fill that space with something. And that causes a lot of anxiety and pressure, especially on introverts specifically, because it's like we already don't talk much. So being in a setting or space where we feel like we're forced to talk, it makes us even more uncomfortable. The battery drains a lot faster, and we are wondering to ourselves, how can we escape? Now, just to do a quick recap, the best way to communicate with introverts would be written communication. Talk, text, Slack, I don't care how you do it. Just find some way to write down what you want to say to me, and then boom. Best believe I read it. Best believe I'm analyzing my answer, and I'm doing this in a comfortable way. And then best believe I'll eventually respond to you. And the response will be wholehearted. It will be a true, complete response. But I felt happy being able to respond on my own time and my own convenience. The second best way to communicate with introverts would be any kind of video call or video conference. So Zoom, a Slack video call, a FaceTime, however you can do a video call, because while it is sometimes unprecedented and like smart spur of the moment, it's still not as bad as being in person and feeling pressure to have to continue the communication or continue being social even after the event is past. And then the worst way is in person, especially if it's spontaneous, like a spontaneous meeting or a spontaneous meetup, or I work in IT, so you just popping up into my office and you didn't Slack me beforehand, or you didn't send me an email beforehand that you were coming in for whatever reason. You might come into my office and I'm gonna be like, because it's like, I didn't expect you, so I'm sorry, but my first interaction is gonna be like, I'm cautious, because it's like, oh shit, I didn't prepare for this interaction. Like I don't know what to say. I gotta start thinking now of a conversation topic to discuss with the person while I'm trying to triage the issue or fix whatever issue they brought to me. And it's like, that shit is extremely uncomfortable. Like, I'm sorry, but I just might have what they call a resting bitch face when you pop up, because it's like, I wasn't ready for this. And I hate this. I hate doing anything in person. Like, I'm an introvert. I'm sorry, it's what it is. Like, I just can't be social in person all the time. And it's like, it's really difficult sometimes to keep that shit up. It's difficult to keep up the energy for social interactions, especially in person. Like, seriously, for me personally, that list is directly in order. My best favorite way to communicate is by text message. Please text me. Text me whatever the hell you want to say to me. Text me anything you want. I don't care. It's the best way to communicate. Send me a Slack message. Send me an email. I will reply to you, and I'll be happy that you sent me that email or you sent me that message in a written communication type way. And like I said, my worst is easily in person. Like, don't get me wrong. I can easily be a conversationalist in person, but only so much for so long before it's like, I don't got nothing more to say, so I'm just gonna stop talking, and then you're gonna have potentially uncomfortable silence. I'm okay with silence. I'm okay with uncomfortable silences. It does make me anxious, but I don't feel some type of way if there's no space, if there's no talking being done. Other people, especially extroverts, don't feel like that. They feel like the silence is very uncomfortable and they gotta fill it. And then as an introvert, it's like, I'm not going along with that plan. I'm not feeling nothing. I don't want to talk. So it gets, it becomes uncomfortable and it gets kind of awkward. So that was the video, guys. Try to make this as short and sweet as possible. Again, all your introvert friends would definitely 100% appreciate if you try your best to keep communication as written as possible, and keep the spur of the moment FaceTime calls or pop-ups to a minimum if possible. That is very appreciated. I understand certain environments do not enable that or don't necessarily allow for that, but in the environments that do, especially if you're talking to like a close friend or a close co-worker, please try to just accommodate them by replying to them or communicating with them in the best way possible for them and for you to make everything cohesive. Thank you guys for watching the video up until this point. I appreciate y'all. Peace.